Thank you, Senator Cornyn, and congratulations on your chairmanship. I look forward to working with you in this caucus's long bipartisan tradition. To our new caucus member, Senator Marino, welcome. And to all of our returning caucus members, I welcome them back. We have long known that Hezbollah is one of Iran's tools to destabilize and terrorize the Middle East. Until 2023, about 70% of Hezbollah's finances came from Iran. Hezbollah held up its side of the transaction. For instance, the day after tomorrow, we mark the 42nd anniversary of the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing, in which 9 Rhode Islanders lost their lives, alongside 232 additional service members. Over the last several decades, Iran's proxy Hezbollah has repeatedly terrorized Israel and aided and abetted Bashar al-Assad as he jailed, gassed, and murdered innocent Syrians. Over the last 2 years, both Iran and Hezbollah have suffered significant setbacks. Iran is now looking more inward, and Hezbollah is cash-starved. If we target Hezbollah's financing, we can deny them the opportunity to rebuild. So, where will Hezbollah look for money? Hezbollah has operated in Latin America for almost 50 years, cultivating ties with drug traffickers and developing illicit finance and trade networks. Modern drug cartels and terrorist groups run more like Fortune 500 conglomerates than street gangs. For nearly 50 years, we focused on drug distribution networks because the product is contraband, the cases are easy once the drugs are found, and everyone gets to take a well-earned photo with piles of drugs and weapons and cash taken off the streets. I've done that myself. But that approach alone hasn't been much of a solution. According to the CDC, over 110,000 Americans died of overdoses in 2023. 404 of them were Rhode Islanders. While 2024 data suggest a decline, the death toll is still far, far too high. If we want to be serious about fighting the drug traffickers behind American deaths, we must strike their financial networks. And when we do, it is greatly to our advantage because much of the world's evil is enabled by this shadow transnational financial network. The U.S. and our allies have failed to target this international financial underworld adequately. Globally, less than 1% of illicit financial flows are confiscated each year, according to the United Nations. At one of our hearings last year, a retired DEA agent told us fewer resources are dedicated to money laundering investigations today than 20 years ago. We can and must turn that trend around. Drug traffickers, kleptocrats, terrorists, and Hezbollah rely on opaque free trade zones and transparency gaps in trade data to move contraband, hide ill-gotten gains, and finance evil. The Clean FTZ Act I co-lead with Senator Cassidy would enhance oversight of foreign free trade zones, like those located in the tri-border area of South America, where Hezbollah and drug traffickers are known to operate. Likewise, our Manifest Modernization Act would shine a light on opaque import records to help law enforcement take down these bad actors. Unfortunately, terrorist and cartel financiers run illicit financial operations in the United States. In 2021, then Treasury Secretary Yellen said, "There's a good argument that the best place to hide and launder ill-gotten gains is actually the United States." By tolerating this financial netherworld, the U.S. provides aid and comfort to our worst enemies. The U.S. has allowed cartels, terrorists, rogue states, Chinese money laundering organizations, and foreign oligarchs to use phony U.S. shell corporations in their illicit schemes. These anonymous companies may exist only on paper, but they enable deadly threats to Americans' lives and security. Last year, a prominent Hezbollah money trafficker pled guilty to conspiring to violate U.S. sanctions by covertly transferring hundreds of thousands of dollars to Lebanon from U.S. businesses he secretly owned. This is just one example, a tiny tip of an enormous iceberg. Time and time again, we've seen those seeking to harm the U.S. using opaque American corporate structures, our own laws and legal structures, to cover their tracks and evade accountability. I worked with former Chair Grassley in the first Trump administration to pass the Bipartisan Corporate Transparency Act, which identifies who is behind anonymous corporations used in criminal schemes. But Treasury Secretary Besson suspended enforcement of the law for all entities formed in the United States, in other words, 99% of the entities covered by the law, which willfully blinds law enforcement investigators who are looking into our country's most dangerous threats. Treasury must reverse course and fully implement the CTA as envisioned by Congress. Treasury should also close money laundering vulnerabilities in the investment and residential real estate sectors by implementing the rules that were finalized last year. The individuals servicing this corrupt and covert trade should be held accountable for giving that aid and comfort to our enemies. Finally, Treasury, DOJ, FinCEN, and other federal agencies on the front lines fighting against financial crime and corruption need more resources. We should work in a bipartisan way to make sure they have those resources and that those resources are not diverted to other priorities. With that, I yield back to Chairman Cornyn.